This is Håkon from Enslaved and Seven Impale. You're watching RichardMetalFan.
Hey, what's up, guys? Episode 196 of Richard Metal Fan Interviews, calling from Zoom, and I'm here with Håkon Vinje from Enslaved and also Seven Impale. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. It's Friday. So what can I say?
Yeah, the best day of the week, even though I'm usually off every Friday.
Even better.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to be able to have you, man. So kind of like the format is, I want to do a rundown of your discography and talk about like your musical history. So take me back to young Håkon. So kind of growing up in Norway, what were the first bands that got you into metal and what made you want to be a vocalist and keyboardist?
The first band that really inspired me to play keys was actually Deep Purple. I stole the Burn CD from my mother when I was a child, and like when you listen to the keyboard solo or the organ solo, I was just mesmerized and like, this is the coolest thing ever. I want to play organs. And of course, I've listened to heavier bands and more experimental genres. As you might have guessed, if you listen to Seven Impale, it's a bit more like jazzy and progressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember like the first jazzy thing I've heard, like I don't know if you heard of this artist, Mark Seals.
Mark Seals. No, not very known.
Well, I think I've heard of him when I was a kid. There's this like little instrumental song called Highway Blues. It's just mostly like piano and like some saxophone and stuff. It's I because I know of that song because it came like default with like Windows XP back when I was a kid, and I don't know, it's just a catchy song. If I'm like
Yeah.
especially if I'm like driving through like a city on like a rainy day, it's like a perfect like song to like fit the mood and vibe and everything.
Yeah.
And
No, I need to check it out. I haven't seen it, but that's a fun story.
hell yeah. Yeah, so were you in any bands before Seven Impale, or was that like your first band?
Um, well, I was in previous bands, but with several of the members from Seven Impale. Um, yeah, just a different constellation. But yeah, I've been playing in bands since 2007, I think. Yeah, 2007 is when yeah.
Oh,
So for a few years
all right.
before Seven Pale.
All right. And so how did you get to know the guys in Seven Impale? Because I know you formed 2010.
Yeah. Um, Maybe. Yeah. We started officially in 2010. Um, and by then I knew everyone except the lead singer and guitar player Stian Økland and the other guitar player Erlend. But the others I had played in several bands with before, so we knew each other quite well. We lived nearby, and yeah, we were neighbors
Cool.
actually.
Yeah, just perfectly convenient. If you all just want to rehearse, you just like come over, be like, hey, let's rehearse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey neighbor, do you want to start a band?
And you're like,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, that's exactly how it is, or
Yeah.
how it was.
Yeah. But tell me about like the first release, the beginning relief EP from 2013. And I think that's a really great introduction to the band. Like, where was that recorded at?
Um, that was actually recorded on like um, a culture house, or what? Well, I, that's like directly translated, at least from Norwegian. Um, yeah, a bit outside of the city, by mostly by the guitar player. It was, yeah, just nerded out on I don't know the DAW he used at the moment, but yeah, he was more into the studio bits than most of us. So he did the recordings, and then we had it. We got help with mixing and mastering, as it didn't sound just as we wanted. So we contacted a fellow friend of us to like record it, parts of it at least, and yeah, he put in a great amount of work.
Yeah, and hard to believe it's 10 years since it's been released. Like, do you have like a certain viewpoint about it now as opposed to when you first released it?
Yeah, in retrospect, like it's a really cool feat with uh, resources we had, and yeah, the knowledge we had. Um, but I feel like it's on we're like a part of our journey, but we hadn't arrived. We hadn't quite arrived at that with that album. It was a bit more eclectic, if you will.
Yeah, I feel like I could sort of have like a sneak preview of what's like to come.
Yeah. That was the idea as well, and I guess it has filled that purpose
Yeah. And then
in some
going in,
sense.
yeah. And then kind of like going into like the debut album, City of the Sun. I think that's a great debut album from you all. Like, what was like the thought process going into there? Did you really want to like better yourselves as like musicians?
Yeah, and we didn't write the music to be complicated per se. It was just a result of six inspired musicians just gathered in a room creating music together, because that album was very much written all the way through together. As a band, no one like, I write everything and you play like this, you play the bass like this, and you play keys like that. It was like a joint effort. Um, so it wasn't that much to challenge ourselves as musicians, not as the main focus at least. It was just like, let's make music we love. Let's make interesting music we would like to listen to.
So yeah, and I feel like you all like bring like different like styles. Like I know there's like the classic like progressive rock stuff like freaking Pink Floyd, and there's also like the hints of jazz. So I'm guessing like everybody in the band like brings like their own style.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, everybody brings their own style, but also we get influenced by each other, of course. Like Stian Økland, he's an opera singer, you know, and he has listened to a lot more classical and more, yeah, he has listened to a bit different stuff than I have been inspired by. So it is really cool to work with him in that sense, that we bring different things.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a lot going on in the songs. Like for you, like what is your like writing process like, and how would you describe like the narrative of the album?
Obviously, it's the sun.
Yeah,
Um, the narrative, I see. I feel like the three full lengthers, City of the Sun, Contrapasso, and the latest, all is very much part of the same universe or the same kind of journey. Although I see each of them as kind of a different part of the journey, or a different one separate journey by itself. Um, so yeah, I feel like State of the Sun is it's a journey in its own, or it kind of if I would if I want to listen to that album, I will always start it from the start because
Yeah.
I don't I feel like it's one thought,
Yeah.
if you will.
Yeah, and of course next year will be the 10-year anniversary of the album. Like, is there a chance we'll get a celebration like somehow?
Somehow, I hope we'll be able to maybe celebrate it on tour or by playing it live
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah, would be cool if you came to the States with that. That would be awesome.
We would love to come to the States, but it's expensive. It's an expensive flight for 6 people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we need a lot of cash to do that.
Yeah, I need a lot of cash to like go to Norway. Wait, because I'd love to visit that, like the Scandinavia
Yeah,
and shit.
if I had the money, I would bring you at once.
Yeah. Yeah, get me first class.
Yes, Richard, you're coming with me now.
Yeah, yeah, gonna go to Norway to see some metal band, yeah.
That's exactly how you sound.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that parody of yourself.
Yeah. Sometimes you gotta make fun of yourself, man.
Yeah, it's healthy.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
Not at all.
Yeah. And then going into the next album, Contrapasso, I thought that's a great follow-up to City of the Sun because usually with the debut album you have like your entire life to write and there's a lot of hype with the first album. When it came to making Contrapasso, did you feel like pressure in a way to follow up City of the Sun?
Uh, yeah, but maybe mostly by herself. Like it was mostly the band that really wanted to write as good or better music, and maybe like, maybe we don't want to do the same exact mix of genres. Oh, okay, it's bluesy rock with some jazz, and so we wanted to kind of evolve, um, and we wanted to do it before the little hype we had passed. So we ended up going into the studio at a much earlier stage than City of the Sun, as we had already played City of the Sun live, or at least most of it, by the time we went into studio. Um, but that was not the case with the Contrapasso. We kind of, uh, yeah, fixed it in the studio with Ivar Sunday, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the experience of working with him on the first album was also a lot of the decisive factor for doing it, because he's a very good producer. Yeah, he's a good musician,
Yeah.
and a good producer. So we felt like he really understood what we wanted to make and tell.
Yeah.
Um, and maybe it was a bit too ambitious to go into the studio at such an early stage. Um, but it came out good, and yeah, I'm satisfied with it. And we learned very much by doing it that way.
Yeah, because usually like the
Um,
producer is like there's like always act like a role like almost like the fifth Beatle or the sixth Beatle or you guys' case the seventh Beatle, or if you're in Slipknot like the 10th Beatle. So I guess they have like the different like the role would pretty much have like the try to be on the same wavelength as you to know what the sound is.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. You need to kind of want the same thing, or at least imagine the same kind of end result in some way. Yeah, and he really, really did kind of understand our vision.
Yeah,
what we were trying to do.
And then in 2017, you actually joined Enslaved. So how'd you hook up with like Ivar and Grutle and everybody?
As in how it happened, how I met them to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah. And then how you end up joining the band.
Yeah, actually, when Seven Impale were signed, that very evening, Ivar was actually in the audience. He was standing by the guy who ended up signing us, and like had to kind of hold him back so he didn't run up on stage because he was so excited. So Ivar knew about our band because of that. And on a later time, like 2016, it was like winter 2016, December-ish or something, November maybe. We warmed up for Enslaved in Bergen, and they told the audience from stage actually, like, yeah, and we have some sad news, which is Herbrand has decided to leave Enslaved because he wants to focus on other projects and want to explore different kinds. So if anyone is interested, just send me an email, or I can't actually recall like word by word what he said, but it was something in that direction. And I remember getting the text from the guitar player in 7P, like, oh my God, that might be actually a thing. You should talk to them. And I was like, just scoffed it off, like, no, that's not happening. And then I got a message from Ivar like 2-3 weeks later. It's like, do you want to come and test play for Enslaved, and also the project with me and Einar Salvik in Hugshaw. No, in Vardruna, a project called Hugshaw. You want to? Is this interesting for you? To you? And of course, it. I had to try. So it was really, yeah, really random. I've heard later on that they talked to Ivar as to who to ask, or if he knew about any keyboard players that might actually be able to sing as well.
Yeah. Yeah, then of course, tell me
Yeah.
about like making your first album with the band E. I think that was one of my favorite albums from 2017. So were you kind of like nervous like joining up with Enslaved? Did you like listen like the past albums like Frost and Retir and shit like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I already knew of their later albums. I first listened to, and I think it was the Richter album, and just like when I actually like heard an entire album, like, wow, this is cool. But I'm not that like purely metal myself, so it was like really really exciting, but yeah, it was a bit scary to like step into Herbrand's shoes and just like take part in something this heavy. Although I love heavy music, I love metal, but
yeah,
I'm not purely about metal, obviously.
Yeah, but what is like some of your favorite metal bands in particular?
Like I loved the like I loved Meshuggah from
Yeah.
quite
They're
an early
fucking awesome.
stage. Yeah. And I've had the pleasure of seeing them live, and I have never been disappointed.
Me either.
And also it's not metal maybe, but Tool is one of my greater inspiration when it
Cool.
comes to like heavy music. Of course, that's less metal and more like just like progressive something magical.
Yeah.
But it's heavy.
Hell yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Early Opeth was a great inspiration
Yeah.
for
Like
me. Like,
I love Opeth. Like those, like everything up to like Watershed is just perfect. I especially love think Blackwater Park is
yeah,
probably like my favorite Opeth album.
yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I consider it their
It's
Master of Puppets.
yeah, but um, I love when Mikael Åkerfeldt mix between the growling, the really deep, monumental growling, and the really like perfectly pitched, clean vocals.
Yeah.
I love the contrasts, uh, which is a lot of the reason I love metal is because it's such a cool nuance. It's such a cool effect when you put it up against something else, like a contrast.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And yeah,
Yeah.
Opeth is no exception.
Oh
They
yeah.
they are brilliant. Although the later albums are more like melodic and less metal, I still think they're a great band
Yeah. I try to
and great
remember.
guys.
Yeah, I was just trying to remember their latest album. Like they did like this special thing where they did like two versions, like the one they sung in English and then another version they sung in Swedish,
Swedish,
which I thought was
yeah,
pretty interesting. Thing I feel like the Swedish, I feel like could be like more personal to like Mikkel and everybody.
yeah. I just think it's brilliant how they managed to make the lyrics work as well as they made it work in
Yeah.
both Swedish and English. So they have my deepest respect.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it would be like hard, especially with like the vocal pattern and the phrasing of like trying to like fit in like the syllables, because if it goes like
Of
one
course,
over, it's like it could turn into a freaking bloodbath.
yeah, absolutely. But it has a really natural flow on both languages. So
Yeah. But anyway, back to E. I thought this was a great introduction. I feel like you almost kind of like brought like a new kind of like layer and or new kind of like influence into Enslaved with like the more progressive influence. It's like, well, I guess not to like pigeonhole Enslaved, but they were kind of like started off as like kind of like Viking kind of black metal. But later on, I think you incorporated more kind of like the progressive element, and it's just like very 70s style. So how did you
yeah,
like try to like make like the balance between like the heavy stuff that Enslaved is known for with the sort of like the progressive elements?
um, well, this the E album is kind of just like how I naturally would approach those songs, no matter what band it's in. And I I think the structure and the progressive parts of the songs is all Ivar. You know, he's a fantastic songwriter, and I was just lucky and happy to be able to put my own voice in the mix,
Yeah.
both for my voice and Keith's. Um, so yeah, it was an honor, but it felt really natural in a
Yeah.
way to play with, especially on that album. Like it felt kind of rocky, not progressive, not too purist metal.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I love like lyrically. I know you guys talk about like the Norse mythology and spiritual themes, and as like also one of the vocalists, how do you like prepare for like the lyrical side of things when like approaching a song?
I need to a disclaimer. The lyrics, they are fantastic, but I haven't written any of it. This is all Grutle, Ivar, and actually also Ivar has had some saying on the later album, at least, I think. Yeah. But yeah, Grutle, he has really good insight in Norse mythology and really has put a lot of time and energy into studying it. And it's really fascinating to read their lyrics and to hear them talk about it, because they're really, really smart and reflected people, all of them. So I've learned a lot more than I've put in myself.
Yeah,
if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
as I think I should.
Yeah. Do you ever like look at like the lyrics and try to like interpret it like in your own way, or do you, or is it like there's like a message behind the lyrics that everybody that writes?
Of course, I try to get the point of the lyrics, or like understand what's being conveyed, not just word by word, but the meaning of it. But I feel like I understand them. I feel like I understand what he's conveying, and I don't feel like it's veiled or too hard to interpret.
And when the E first dropped, what was like the whole like touring cycle like for it? Do you remember like the first tours that you did with Enslaved?
Yeah, I do, but I feel like I remember mostly like the feeling and the chaos. Like I was so overwhelmed. Like really, the time before the pandemic was just like surreal to me. Just being thrown into this famous band and starting to tour all over the world, and being on tour for more than a week is something I had never done before I started in Enslaved. And suddenly it's like, yeah, it's a month, let's go. After that, we're going a month to Europe or to the States, or South America. I remember a lot of the places we went to and the gigs, but I cannot tell you the names of the venues or all. I'm sure if I tried to sum up all the places I've been, I am sure to miss someone.
Yeah,
because it was just like one mush of people and gigs and impressions.
Oh yeah.
In a very short time frame, for me at least.
Yeah. And so I believe you did, that was like you toured like the US on the E cycle. Was that like your first time touring the States? What was that whole experience like coming to America?
It was really cool. I didn't really know what to expect, as you get so exposed to American culture, and you get so many pictures through movies and yeah, the media in general. Norway is very much influenced by the States when it comes to uh, pop culture in general, I guess. So it was really strange to actually be in the States and see how similar things were in many ways. Yeah.
Yeah, makes you wonder if I go to Norway, would it be kind of like the same if it's like because like if it's reversed.
Yeah, I guess it depends, but you've most likely you haven't been as exposed to Norwegian scenery as I have been to
Yeah, I've seen like
American culture and scenery.
yeah, I've seen like pictures of like Norway online. It looks fucking beautiful.
Yeah, I'll agree. Norway is a beautiful country, and I love spending time in the nature, just like hiking and camping, fishing for trout, and just being a wild man.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate being able to do that, and how little effort it takes to just get it out of the city and get away from people. You can just had walk away from the main road for like a few minutes, and you could be alone for weeks without seeing anyone, as long as you're outside of the city. So yeah.
And then kind of then you toured a little bit, and then of course that certain virus that shall not be named happened, and then of course during that time you'd made Utgard, one of my favorite albums from 2020 to get me through the hard times. Like, did you feel like more comfortable like songwriting wise create with the Utgard as opposed to E?
Yeah, I guess I knew more what to expect, or what was expected of me, as I had been through the process one time already. But of course, this was an album with an extra vocalist, and not only that, but more of a lead singer as well.
Iver.
Iver.
How did he
Ivar,
join?
how did he join? He was asked or forced, uh, depending on definition of being forced. Yeah, Grytle sent him, yeah, a very stern
Yeah,
message.
you're joining the band.
Yeah, or else fuck everything. Flip table.
Just be like, fuck this shit.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So he was coerced into the band, and I hope he does not regret it.
Yeah.
At least I think the band has been has had good of his vocal and his feeling behind the drum sets. Yeah, he's a really dynamic and a groovy guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen like because I've seen you all back in April in Atlanta. I'm just curious, how the hell does he like sing and play drums at the same time? That had to be hard.
Well, I'd like to tell you, but I can't.
Yeah.
How does he do it? I asked myself the same question Every time he plays Homebound, I look over to the drum riser and start laughing.
Yeah.
Because that is an impressive song to play live.
Yeah, it's definitely
Without
one of my
cheating.
favorite songs from the album. And what was that like vocally working with Ever? Ever, did you like work with like harmonies and stuff, or did you like take turns with the cleans?
Um, Mostly he just like lay down his tracks, and afterwards, as I didn't have that much lead, I just did my part afterwards. And of course, we worked out like, what kind of uh, second or third voice do we want, or do we need? Do we want to double this, or should I do something? Of course, we create a lot of it in studios, but yeah, he just sang his the lead voices, and I just worked around it.
Yeah,
Same with Grytla, I guess.
yeah, yeah. Because it's hard now. Now there's three vocalists, of course, with the Grutle, you, and Ivar. Ivar. I feel like
Yeah,
it almost changes, like almost like the feel of the song depending on who's singing.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Of course, we have three very different voices. Not only the not the pitch, but like the range. But we sound different as well. So of course there will be a different feeling,
Yeah,
depending on who's the lead. Um, but I find it rewarding to just make good songs, no matter who's the lead. It's just really nice to have all these instruments or have all these tools. Oh, we want this kind of vibe or mood than using.
yeah. Yeah, and in terms of like how you all like split the lyrics and everything thing between you, Grutle, and Ever, do you have to like almost be like in the same kind of mind frame emotionally when it comes to making lyrics? And how do you like divide it, like saying, okay, Grutle singing here, or Håkon singing this part and Ivar singing there? How do you all like work it out so it's like 50-50?
Um, I guess we split it mostly uh, based on what sound we want, actually. So uh, what which of the voices fits the lead, and which of the voices fits the second or the third or the doubling, you know.
Yeah,
But like emotionally, of course, you need to be in the right mood. I can't be all gay and happy if I'm singing about something
yeah,
sad, or like, yeah, you need to fit it.
yeah. Otherwise, it'd be fucking weird.
Yeah, I guess it would.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So there's never been like fights like I'm singing this part, no, I'm singing this part.
Sing. Um, no, not that I've experienced, at least.
Yeah,
I, I don't have that much ownership. I can I can say, like, I feel like this is a very fitting part for you or for me. I feel like I want to sing this line, um, because it fits my voice, or it fits your voice better than his or mine or whatever, you know. But if it's we just talk it over, and if it's decided that we will do something other than I asked for or suggested, then uh, the band has spoken. It's
yes.
been decided. I don't really dwell on it, if you
Oh
will.
yeah. Yeah, but one thing I really loved about Utgard, it's very diverse. Like the song Jet
Yeah, I
Greta.
agree.
Greta, I feel like
Yeah,
it's one of the heaviest enslaved songs to date. But then you also have like Jotun, which is more kind of like electronic based. I love how
yeah.
like they always push your stuff. Enslaved pretty much pushes the boundaries with every album, but which is almost kind of like the point that you need to draw the lines as musicians for the creating of the songs or even an album.
I don't, to be honest, I don't think Ivar draws any hard lines when making music. I think he's just in this big universe of just inspiration, and you want to make this kind of, I want to make this expression, I want to make this journey, and we start here and we go into this, and then uh, I don't think he kind of exclude anything. Maybe you won't find country as a main genre, but he's very eclectic when it comes to music. He's very open. Um, so yeah, I think he just writes music that he finds appealing in some way. He wants to express something and he does it, and it fits Enslaved. Let's record it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I especially love like how y'all did like the live stream shows during this time. I know you did the cinematic tour. I love
Yeah.
that live stream. Was that like done in Bergen? Can you tell me about like how
Yes.
that came to be?
Um, well, we just we went into this yeah, certain time of which we do not speak,
Yes.
and suddenly we didn't have that many gigs, and we saw like uh, home concerts or just like people playing live from their homes or home studio or whatever, was really like flourishing, um, to the point where like everybody was just doing it, no matter the quality of the set, or the sound, and we wanted our shows to be a really good experience, not just in this particular time, but afterwards. Now, we want people to be able to put on the live streams now and still think like this is a really good concert,
Yeah.
you know. So we wanted to make quality. So uh, we invested a lot of time and money, yeah, resources into actually making these live streams and making different sets. So we had this tiny discography of uh, yeah, live live concerts to choose from.
Yeah. Yeah. And then going into 2021, I one before the latest Enslaved album, you did like the EP Caravans to the Outer Worlds. I thought that was a good EP because usually when bands like do EPs, I consider it kind of like I would make like a video game reference, kind of like a side quest list. So what was the whole
Yeah.
concept and sort of like how would that EP come to be?
Um, Actually, that is a question best suited for Ivar.
Yeah.
But he was. But you're absolutely correct. It's like a really strange, like side mission in a way that at the same time really fits the main story or the previous and the next album in a strange way. So how it came to be, uh, yeah, I that's just the magic of Ivar, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I still love, like, it's only like 18 minutes, but I think it's a pretty, like, it every song flows in well, like the title track going into the intermezzo. So
Yeah.
lonely good league. I think like the instrumentals are a bit sort of like give like a good like break, and then goes into a good segue, so to speak. Was that
Mm.
sort of like the inspiration?
I think he just like made these soundscapes, and he put together like a lot of uh, the EP as demos, and like had really like clear visions for many parts of it. At least like I wanted to and like this and be I want yeah, I wanted to be clear, like Ivar writes quite a lot of like the synth parts, or adds synths to the demos, if it's an ARP or just a synth, whether it's something he really wants to be there or to be included, or if it's just like some random sound which I expected to change for something different.
Yeah.
But he writes a lot of and the parts which I find enticing in any way or intriguing, I will just leave or try to make something similar. If I think it fits, I don't see no way of. I see no point. I mean, in removing it and rewriting it just to call it my own.
Yeah.
If you see where I'm going after this.
Yeah. And then of course the new album, Heimdall, one of my favorite albums from this year. So what was the writing process like making this album? And did you want to continue in the same vein as Zootgart, or did you wanted to try something different?
I um, as you said earlier, it's always a bit about evolving, about expressing something new, and of course that album is no exception. I feel it's in the same universe. You can see a lot of like similar tools being used, or like yeah, the ARPs and like the soundscapes here and there. But it's absolutely evolving. So yeah, I feel like I don't know if it was a goal in itself to be in the same universe, but add something new. But that's at least the result in my mind, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, probably like one of my favorite songs on here is Forest Dweller. I think it's the most diverse track on the album. It shows kind of like almost a lot more of like your progressive influences, and especially like that organ section that reminds me a little bit of like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, or even Deep Purple. What was sort of like the inspiration for that song in particular?
Um, as I said earlier, Ivar has written the entire like demo of it, so it's just like adding to his ideas. Like, but for example, it's like a really like it had this really proggy feeling from the get-go, from the demo. So the end result is not that far from the demo Ivar created. and although I love that song, it's a really fun song to play, and it's really well written piece of music. I can't like I add the organs, of course, but like the flute, for example, he had a demo flute already on the part. We have flute in the like in the mellow part. There is like a tiny little mellotron flute playing with this like bass synth going underneath. And he had something really similar on the demo as well. So I can, if you want to ask about what was the inspiration for the song, you need to ask Ivar again. I only took inspiration from the song itself.
Yeah. Yeah, but talking about like the making of the album, I know it was also in like a documentary series, Heimvegan on Norway TV. What was that? What was that experience like? Because I kind of wish I could understand it, because I don't speak Norwegian, but I just think it's interesting that you're all on TV.
Yeah. Well, this is just like a really dedicated what do you call him, like an amateur photographer, a musician. He's a really good musician, and he has just like done everything on that series by himself. He spent so much time and effort to write an interview and cut the footage and everything. Everything is done by one man, as far as I know, just him. And he did such a good job of telling Enslaved's story, but not in a pompous and alienated way. It is, if you understand what they say, or ever get it translated, you will see they have interviews with their parents, and they're talking about like their childhood and their inspirations, and I feel it's really like down to earth, and of course it's partly a result of Ivar and Gretle and the rest of the earlier members being down to earth people, but also like the entire mood of that series is really like, it's nailed that feeling. Really did something really impressive.
Yeah,
I've seen it as like a weekend, like a breakfast series, something like easygoing and nice to have breakfast too.
yeah. Yeah, one thing I kind of like the back cover with you and the band right here. I'm just curious, where was that taken at? Because it looks epic.
Yeah, it is really epic. I do agree that picture is really epic. It is very close to where Gretle is currently living, actually. Oh. So it's just like way out in the to the sea on the western part of Norway. It's like
wow,
all the way out.
Yeah,
in the ocean. So it's, as you can see on the picture, it's kind of barren and only like rocky.
Yeah, kind of like fits the vibe with like the album too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the front, I don't remember the name of the location actually from the front picture, but the one in the back is really, really, really close to where Gretle lives.
Nice. And of course,
Yeah.
I had the honor to finally see Enslaved live back in April. Like I mentioned, I saw you all at Variety Playhouse in Atlanta, Georgia, and I had the VIP to meet you guys. So that
Yeah.
was a great experience. Like seeing you guys live. I remember I had like a shit ton of y'all see every CD from y'all, and I had like everybody sign it beforehand.
Yeah.
Because I remember beforehand, I heard like Ivar couldn't make it because he had like family issues, but I know he eventually like rejoined back up with y'all. So
Yeah.
how was that tour like? Because I definitely think like seeing you guys live is different than just listening to you all.
Yeah. Well, firstly, it was really exciting being on a US tour again. So this was the first since the downtime, if you will. And then we got the news of the family issues, and had to make a tough decision of just pushing on and hoping that the issues would sort themselves out, or he would sort them out hastily or as soon as possible, and be able to be a part of the tour at least, which fortunately he did. But so we played like half the tour without Ivar, and of course it was a strange and a bit stressful experience, as we had to consider new songs and new arrangements. Just like we miss a major part of our sound in this section. What to do? What about if you play a bit more like me guitar, and then you play the lead between those two chords, and I fill up. We had to like, yeah, sit down and plan it.
Yeah, had to be flexible.
More or less while traveling to the US, just like sitting on the plane. Oh, okay, but that part will that work? Yeah, maybe if you do this and I do that. Yeah. But we managed. It felt like it worked, and it felt really good to play for an American audience again, and the audience in general seemed really like forgiving and supportive.
Yeah, and then I know also
and that means a lot, of course.
Yeah, and then I know also the same year you did the new Seven Impale album Summit. Like, how different of a mind frame is it working with Seven Impale compared to Enslaved?
It's quite different, as I write a lot more in Seven Impale than in Enslaved, or at least I'm a bigger part of all the steps, not just the recording part, but also like we use a lot more time writing the music together in Seven Impale, as one might expect from a six-piece band. It's a lot of voices to mash together in one piece of music.
Yeah, especially love
so
the last song.
Especially
love like the last song, Sisyphus. It's like 13 minutes long. Like all the songs on there are like 10, 11 minutes, almost like Dream Theater length. Like, so how do you like manage to figure out, okay, this is where it needs to end? Otherwise we'd be here all week.
And this song, it could be a week long, couldn't it?
Yeah.
It could. No, it couldn't. No, okay. Let's make it 13 minutes then. I feel like the end part of Sisyphus is really concluding. It's a really nice place to end the album and the song. So from the get-go, from the moment we had written that song, we already knew that this needs to be the end track. This needs to be the final one. I want this to be the feeling you're left with after you've listened to the entire album. Because the ending theme on Sisyphus, it might be one of my favorite parts ever, actually, with Seven Impale.
Oh yeah.
I really love the phrases or the melodies, and yeah,
and
the general vibe.
Yeah. And kind of like talking about like your keyboard playing, because I think everybody says like the keyboard is very a melodic instrument, especially like when you play like some of the older like Enslaved songs. Do you ever try to like listen to those songs and try to play it how it was written, or do you try to like add like your own little spin to the songs?
It depends. If there's keys, which there often is, I will try to make something as similar as possible, or at least something that does the same job. If you know what I'm trying to mimic, the emotion of the song, or like the mood of the song, if you will, and not to change something just to change something. Of course, if I feel like, oh, it would be cool with this synth bass here in addition to or instead of, I will
Add
at
like a
least
different
show
depth
it
and
to the
layer
band.
to it.
Yeah. I will definitely run it by the rest of the band before just doing it live. And we've had some, not quarrels, but disputes whether whether or not I should do something. But mostly we agree on how we want it to sound. Mostly I think what's on the records are really cool. So I want to just do something really similar.
Yeah. And kind of like
Yeah,
also
it depends.
Yeah, and kind of also like singing and playing keyboards. How hard is it to like try to like figure out where your singing is, where your fingers are, like where you're playing like doop 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 doop?
Well, you kind of just need to turn down the BPM and just like mechanically I sing between these two notes, or I sing on this and that note. That's when I pronounce the E in in this word, or the A, or whatever, and you kind of try to understand it rhythmically and just get it to work physically, actually. But yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nothing more advanced.
Nice. And then the final question I want to ask you is talking about like your rig setup. I'm always curious like what kind of keyboards you use and like the like different like pedals and stuff. Like what's your like your rig rundown?
For 7 Impale, I have a Neo ventilator, which is like a Leslie simulator as a stomp box, which I run North Stage through. And then I have one of those new Mellotron minis, and also a Prophet 08. But I do not bring everything to like a live show, most of the time I will bring a stage which can do most of it, at least in self-defense. For live setting, you don't need the perfect sound of a mellotron, for example. If you can mimic it, it's like 99% on a stage, it might not be worth bringing the extra poly just for the mellotron or just for the Prophet, if you can make like something that does the same job. But yeah, I have a Prophet, a mellotron, and a North stage, which I do all my stuff through. For Enslaved, I mostly use just a DAW and a MIDI keyboard, because there is a lot more of sound switches through one song than in 7 Impale, as it's written differently. So yeah, it's a bit hard to explain, but yeah. In Enslaved, I mostly use a DAW. Ableton Live, to be specific.
Yeah. yeah. I love that, man. So thank you, Håkon, for this interview. It was great to be able to finally have Enslaved on the show, and finally first ever interview with you on YouTube ever, because I don't think there's ever been any interviews with you online ever. So this is an exclusive.
Yeah, it is kind of an exclusive. Yeah, I've had some interviews, but not just me on YouTube.
Yes.
Now on the internet.
Yes. The world premiere.
Yeah. The world premiere.
Yeah.
No, thank you for having me. It's been a real pleasure, and really fun questions to answer.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's just anything else with the Enslaved or 7 Impale that you would also like to plug?
That I would like to
help like promote in terms of like tours and stuff.
No, nothing yet, but I will. I can comment for 7 Impale in the comment section later on.
Yeah.
Or link to it. But as of now, I have no more info to promote, no more gigs. We have some unofficial dates next year, but I can't say specifically.
You'll tell me when I turn off the recorder.
Yes. By the way,
it's a great to be able to chat with you, man. So everybody, Håkon Vinje from Enslaved and 7 Impale. See you next time.